See, this also feeds into the other problem in that, we see quite a lot of people saying, oh, we need more budget for our security. We haven't got enough money to be able to protect ourselves against the threats. But the difficulty is that when you think about, I know that you need an element and a sensible budget to be able to address the security problems of today. But I think there's a big case for, let's make sure that we're spending that money in the right places in the right way. Let's make sure that we actually, we're thinking about how we spend our money, because I think that there's a lot of money being wasted.
Indeed there is.
And I totally understand from an executive perspective, they're thinking, well, we spent all this money and we've still got problems. And I do understand that, it's that you can bet the best security in the world and you're still going to have problems. But some of the things that we see causing real problems are things that can be fixed without money. They're just things that are sometimes real common sense. It's just about asking better questions. It's about trying to understand the risks and the gaps. And that doesn't happen enough. People think, I must be protected. As to your point earlier, must be protected because I spent $1 million on this really fancy looking appliance. Got to be. I'm sure he must be protected because I spent all this money, and that ain't right.
No, it's not. It's not. And again, that's where so many security, even just security people, see security as, and I'd say in a very myopic point of view, in which often they're just treating the symptoms. They're not even looking upstream, look at true root cause. And exactly like you're saying there, a lot of these problems can be solved at the people layer, policy layer, process layer, stuff in which you don't need to have any new capital expenditure to deal with. There's still this problem in which in order to solve a problem, we must buy something to add to the technology stack. This buy tech first approach, that to me is whack-a-mole. That we're not solving anything.
It's crazy.
And it to me is still that, like I said, that very myopic thinking. And so many security people are conditioned in that mentality in which security is almost this moral imperative, in which security has to be done at all costs. We need to buy this tool. We need to buy this platform. It's like, well, no, security is part of that larger risk reward equation here. Let's look big picture, and again, let's look upstream where maybe that original problem is manifesting itself. We're still, in my mind, treating far too many symptoms as actual root causes.
It's really interesting because I had exactly this conversation with Greg Vandergast, and he uses this really great analogy around, the fuse box. The fuse keeps going out, and it's ultimately because of a leaking tap into the fuse box rather than that. And it's like, we keep replacing the fuse box, but not fixing the leak. And that's such a good analogy. It was such a good way of putting it. Such a good way of putting it. Yeah. Back to your previous point there. I think that you're right. I mean, we all know that we shouldn't eat that much, or perhaps, some people should stop smoking or whatever it is, but we don't. What we do is we treat the problems that happen as a result of these things, right? Yeah. And I think most organizations are living in survival mode. They're basically having to respond to problems as they're occurring, and they're not taking that let's step back and get from that position of creation. How can we actually get this right from the beginning? How can we get this right from the fundamentals? But that isn't the way people are naturally. It just doesn't feel that that's normal for most people, certainly not today anyway. And I think that that's exactly the problem that manifests in security, is that, we're thinking, well, and also, I tell you what, prevention isn't very sexy. Detection's fun and sexy. It looks great to say, look at all these threats we've stopped. But prevention is really a bit boring quite often. And I think that that's also sometimes a challenge,
Absolutely. I mean, one of I'd say the biggest challenges in that regard there, in terms of what you're laying out there, Aidan, is that perception still amongst non-technical people or, business people, that they view security as being a function of IT. And by being a function of IT, ergo, the solution must be technical. And again, that way of thinking is very prevalent in small and mid-sized organizations. Hell, that level of thinking is still very prevalent in enterprise as well. Unless we truly sort of reframe that, again, especially for non-technical people, that if they will automatically default to thinking about cybersecurity as being part of the IT domain, that to me again is still short-term thinking. We're always going to fail because it's not a technical problem, and
that's right.
If it's not a technical problem, we're sure as hell not going to fix it with technology alone. Technology is part of the solution. Absolutely, it would be foolish to say otherwise.
That's
but
it.
It's not the savior, right? It's because it's not the problem alone.
And it's framing it as a drain. It's framing it as and that's a real problem as well. Is if you get it right, this can be an enabler. And I think probably now more than ever, we're really going to have to up our game in a lot of ways, because the attack surface is. I actually hate that term, but the attack surface. It's what. Sorry, buzzword alert. The places in which the level of risk that organisations have now got as a result of whatever this is that we're in, has definitely changed. Whether I can say it's increased, it's definitely changed. And I think that, and sadly, I think that in times of recession, fraud increases, and I think organisations are going to have to figure out, how do we assess our risk in a slightly different way? How do we really I'm a massive advocate of, oh God, I hate this term again as well, but it's a really, Gartner used this thing about data-centric security, right? And this concept that, the first thing you need to figure out is, what is it I'm trying to protect? Where is my risk? What is the stuff that matters the most? And then work out from there. And I kind of feel that, and it kind of talks a bit to the zero trust thing, of course, doesn't it? But how organizations are going to need to figure out, well, what is it we need to start with? How can we get out and then work our way out from there? Because we've been saying for 20 years the perimeter is dead, but with this new normal that we're in now, it really truly is. The perimeter is there, not there. And it's I think we're going to have to really rethink how we go around security to be effective with the way that people are operating today. I don't know whether that's your opinion or not, but that's sort of...
It's funny that I was laughing. I used to, the perimeter is dead, and that reminded me of, cause I remember when I started working in the field around 15 years ago. They were still there. I remember I still have these articles somewhere about the perimeter being dead and passwords being gone within 5 years. Neither happened.
This is it.
Right? So I think it speaks to the how slow as a species that humans are to change to things.
Exactly.
I'd say there's a lot of human psychology at play there,
huge amount,
more so than from a technological perspective. And I think to me it really goes to, again, back to what I was mentioning earlier, is that this mindset of, especially if you look at a security roadmap or security strategy for an organization, right? It all tends to be, we need a SIM. We need to upgrade to an NGFW. We need a network IPS. It's not driven. It's not tied back to risk. It's not tied back to data. Again, it's not tied back to a why. What is the why? If to me, when I look at, I'm going to say, if I was to grab just 10 security roadmaps from different organizations, they would all basically look like a Gartner Magic Quadrant, in which they're just basically trying to get best of breed, drop stuff in, and say, so tell me, why do you need a network IPS, or why do you need a WAF? Why do you need this? And they say, oh well, we need one because we read it in an article, or because we had a consultant who said so. Okay, well again, that's not a good enough why. Again is to me, like you're saying there, either data centric, risk centric. It has to be tied back to that. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark.
Absolutely right.